All right, welcome everybody, and thanks once again for being vaccinated and wearing masks so we can do this in person. I think we're good if we don't have to do any more of these on Zoom, so hopefully this can continue. Congrats, Connor. Yeah, so it's a great opportunity for you. Look forward to continue to work with you. We're glad the semester started. It's exciting to have students back on campus. We're looking forward to playing games in front of people again. I'd really like to encourage all of our students to come out. It's been 2 years. We missed you, and you're a big part of the Wake Forest football experience, as well as all of our fans and alumni. We're looking forward to see you back. It's a really interesting opener when you play a team that hasn't played football in 2 years. So there's a lot of guesswork that goes into this. I don't know Coach Ronnie well. I know he was at Penn State and Vanderbilt, and I know people that have worked with him at both places, and there's certainly a high level of respect for him. We visited last year a little bit on the phone because we were so unsure if we were going to play, not play, all those things, and I expect them to be really well coached. Looking at his offenses at Penn State and how productive they were at certainly at Vanderbilt, and even going back to his time at Kansas State. He's always been associated with very well-coached teams. But our guys are excited to play. I think they're excited to, again, have somewhat of a more normal season. We had a good fall camp. Everybody has a good fall camp, right? We're all undefeated now. Probably not too many coaches get up on their opening game press conference and say, camp stunk, we were awful. So I'll join the cliches and say we had a good camp. And we'll find out how good that camp's going to be, though, in the next 12 to 13 weeks. It's been really exciting watching all of our former players. I love seeing those photos of Kendall Hinton, Asang Bassi, Justin, and John Wolford. We're seeing Nate, Willie, and Phil, and we're certainly hoping and keeping our fingers crossed that those guys remain on rosters for the next 48 hours. But we're really proud of them, and like I said, we're excited to go. And I expect Old Dominion to be a very well-coached, talented football team. It's been 2 years, so I'm sure they've had a lot of good player development. And they've taken a number of transfers from good programs, guys that were highly recruited, 4-star guys. So they certainly will be a talented football team. And, like I said, our openers here have always been, against the group of 5 teams, have always been very challenging games. Whether you look at, Tulane in 16 and 18 and Utah State in 19, these games have been really good tests, and we've been fortunate to win some of them. And so, we're unsure what we're going to see on offense and defense, but I know we're going to have to play well and execute at a high level. And that's really the challenge in front of us. We're not sure what they're going to do on offense. We're not sure what they're going to do on defense. So we got to make sure that we take care of our execution and focus on us. And as we figure out what they're doing, there's certainly some pressure on us as a staff to adjust appropriately. So with that, I'll open it up and take any questions you may have.
What do you do in terms of scouting for teams under these conditions that haven't played in a year, and the new coaching staff? What are some of the techniques you use to kind of scout them? And then how willing do you have to be to change midstream if you see them do things differently?
You certainly try to prepare. You watch film of where their coaches have been. The reason that Ricky got the head job at Old Dominion is he was the very, very successful offensive coordinator and quarterback coach at Penn State. So it's not like you're going to take a new job and abandon everything you did. On the other hand, the skill set and the relative strengths of your football team is different every year. And he's had 2 years to get to know his team well, of what they do well. So I'm sure there's aspects of the Penn State offense that he's installed. I'm sure there's adjustments he's going to make. We research and develop every year just because we're back as a staff doesn't necessarily mean that we're going to do everything exactly the same too. So there's always that little bit of guesswork in an opener. There's just a greater variability, when you play a team that hasn't, it's a new staff, they haven't played in 2 years. And a lot of it just goes back to your camp walkthroughs. When we do walkthroughs in training camp, we're repping plays against every imaginable look. All the different looks we've seen over 8 years. Geez, one team did this in 16. That becomes a walkthrough rep. And so our players are going to have to execute the looks that they're given, and play good fundamental football, have their eyes in the right place, know their assignments. This isn't a game that you can have, like on offense, you can't have a lot of look-specific calls because you don't know what the looks are.
I hope the word unique hasn't lost all of its meaning in the last year, but is this about as unique of a first game prep that you've had in your tenure?
Yeah, but you gotta, it's almost like a prep for Tulane in 16, right? You had Willie Fritz, who had great success at Georgia Southern, and that was his first game at Tulane. And, is he going to keep the Georgia Southern offense, or is he going to adapt something new? Who's the quarterback? I mean, the gamesmanship of listing 3 starting quarterbacks. So it's not even what are they doing, who are they doing it with, and obviously whether it's Smart Wolf or Mac, different aspects of what they've done at Penn State is going to be emphasized. So the whole thing becomes guesswork. And again, in openers, playing good fundamental football, taking care of the football, not making a big special teams mistakes, those always become the difference makers in openers. So whether we are playing Old Dominion for the first time, or if we open with NC State that we've played 103 years in a row, all those same things go into winning an opener.
Is there a backup role or two that you're going to be watching to see maybe who's the guy that steps forward in this game, if that's a competition that continues into this opener?
Not necessarily. I think, at a lot of positions, it's an opener. We'd like to play a lot of people. One of our challenges here, and I've challenged our coaches and our players, is developing depth. And it's hard to have that depth in October when you don't play it in September. So it's an opener. It's going to be hot. We got to play guys and let them get game experience. And at times when you do that, you got to live with some mistakes. But if you don't do it and then you get injured later, you're sticking a guy in there in September or in October or November that's not played any football. And so we're going to have to play people. So, and I think as we play them, their roles will increase or decrease based on how they play. So is there a position specifically you wanted to ask about, or?
Dave, it's supposed to be a pretty big crowd, something we haven't seen in a while. Is that an adjustment? Because you used to be able to just yell at them right away if something was going wrong. I mean, is that something you have to kind of adjust to on Friday?
Well, between the crowd and not wearing masks, I think all of us, we can now be, they can lip read us again, right? So we've got to, whatever we say, we got to tone it down a little bit. So yeah, it'll be different, but I think last year, this will be easy. Last year was strange. You literally were worried about yelling too loud that the other team might hear what you're yelling. Hey, cloud that, sky that. You're also telling the other team's receivers what the coverage is. So we had hand signals last year, not because it was so loud, because it was so quiet. So that I think we'll adjust back to that pretty quickly. That's what I'd call a good problem.
Dave, with your vaccination rate being so high, curious, I'm sure you push the players into getting the vaccines that you were reticent about it, but I'm curious about those conversations, whether they happen in the spring or summer going into fall camp, and how you were able to get the team so high going into fall camp.
A lot of it, Connor, was just getting it to a certain rate so that we could not have to wear shields and masks on every little thing that we do. That we were told there was a certain threshold rate that we'd have to get to in order to ever be able to meet without masks and shields and those type of things. And I just think the players were so miserable and so exhausted from a year ago that they didn't want to go through that. Now, the way the Delta variant has picked up, when we meet as a whole team right now, we all have masks on. But we're not practicing with masks on. Last year, we practiced with masks on. The players had a mask or something to pull up, and then they had something separate on their helmet. And it was exhausting. I've said many times. I think the decision to play last year was a good one. I think the players were better here with us than at home. We got a season in, but it was joyless. And part of the joylessness of it was all the mask wearing and not being able to have a team meal and seating guys 12 and 15 feet apart with a plastic partition between them. And again, we're not totally out of the woods with that, but with our vaccination rate, we don't have to do all those things anymore.
I took it wasn't a tough sell then.
Again, the school, and I'll give credit to our Dr. Hatch and our board, the fact that the school made it mandatory certainly helped. That we were going along at a pretty good rate. We probably would have been in the 90, 92, 93% rate. And then when the school made it mandatory, unless you had a medical or religious exemption, that pushed us to 126 out of 129.
Dave, you got a couple players from New Orleans. How are they?
Their families are all okay. After practice today, we had all those players that are from New Orleans or a family in Louisiana get up and give a report on how their families are doing. So the ones that have family got up and said they've been in touch with their family and they're okay. Some don't have power, but they're alive and well, and they're out of harm's way.
What's the approach of you and the staff when maybe something like, the hurricane right now is coming up and it might have potential impact on players?
It's just, unfortunately, it seems like we've dealt with so much of that lately. It seems like every year, there's a weather or a pandemic or, I guess, we'll probably talk about this more next week, but after coaching a team in New York City on 9/11, I think that prepares you for about any disaster you may face. So I'm certainly better equipped to handle these things now, and making sure you go out of your way and asking all those players if their families are okay and not brushing by it after having gone through 9/11 back at Fordham.
Kane, I immediately spotted two true freshmen on the depth chart. Are those Evan Slocum and Quincy Bryan? Are you expecting them
They're
to
gonna
earn their red shirt?
they're gonna play.
They're gonna play.
They're playing.
What is it about them that have them stand out to you? You said we need them this year.
Their maturity level, how quickly they picked up the defense, the value they bring on special teams, and every year you get, one or two of those guys that, they come in a little bit more mature, very football serious. As camp went on, they didn't wear down, and those are positions that we always get thin at. And so, we always try to redshirt the linemen. Right now, we're going to try to redshirt all the linemen if we can. We say the skill guys are always a little bit of a coin flip depending on the position, injuries, things like that. We've never been able to get through a year without a 5th, 6th linebacker. And so we just said, let's not, we could use them here, we can use them there. If you're saying that the first game of the season, let's just do it. Let's not play that game all year. And we felt the same thing about Evan. So Quincy and Evan, Quincy came in January and played safety. And our strength and conditioning program does such a good job, he's now a linebacker. And we almost look back and say, hey, Justin Sternad, recruited him as a safety, and we made the move. I wish we could have made this move with Luke 2 years ago. Safety was a position that we got banged up at, and we couldn't move him. And he had put on weight and strength, and he kept his speed. And let's not have this guy as a freshman be asking him to watch his weight. Let's just let him go. Quincy's very mature, and I think did a great job academically. I think he'll be able to handle it. And Evan, same person every day, focused, picks things up in meetings and walk through. I like to watch when we do the walkthroughs at night, which freshmen are joking around, which guys are looking at the sky, and which guys are just so focused and paying attention to every little thing that's being coached. And Evan was one of those guys. And just because of how he handled it, and then taking it from the classroom to the walkthrough, then to the field and scrimmages, both those guys are going to be good players.
Anybody else has potential to break through to be a more than 14 player for you?
Yeah, they do, but it would probably be because the whole, what we do, Les, you're playing, you're redshirting, and then there's that group in the middle that if we stay healthy, they're not going to play. And unless we have one or two season-ending type injuries, but it's game one, who knows where we are, But we'd like to be able to hold on to them for a little bit and hopefully keep them fresh and be able to use the last 4 games. But we're not going to sacrifice a win this season for something that may not happen in 2025. Yeah, he's getting better. He's not going to play this week, but I don't. We're hoping week 2, but that is, I'm not a doctor, and they'll clear him when it's safe for them to do so. But I mean, he's working out. He's out at practice. He feels good. I hope sooner than better, but I really don't know.
Part of you that maybe before the game Friday kind of says to the team, hey, just make sure you're enjoying this one because it is maybe approaching more typical than atypical like last year was?
Yeah, I think you try to get those things out of the way before. The game before, you always want the players to have fun because I believe when players have fun, they play better. But it's an opener, and you're going to have all the normal nervousness, anxiety. A lot of guys are going to be playing in their first college football game. Some guys, didn't play much last year. Now they're in bigger roles. So we just try to keep the main thing, and we'll be reflective of it later.
David, is it a non-conference game you can dress more?
Oh, well, you can. It's a home game, so we can dress everybody. And then when you play a non-conference game on the road, there's not a dress limit. So, like when we go to North Carolina, normally we'd be limited to 72 or 80 players. Like when we go to Army, there's not a limit on a non-conference game. So it's 4 games a year. The ACC road trips are the ones that there's a limit to how many you can dress. Home games, we always dress the whole team. All right, anything else? Stan, we'll see you tomorrow night, right? What's that? All right. Sounds good. Thanks for being here. It's great to see you all again, and